Hello, so for today I'm going to be walking you through the setup for our scans of our knee, ankle, and hip. So the setup is going to be the same for all three anatomies that we're going to be imaging, so we can place these setups explanation for all three of them. So for our setup, of course, we got to make sure that we review the physician's order of the specific anatomy that we're going to be scanning. Make sure that everything has to be where it's at. And also, us as techs, we got to make sure that we demetalize ourselves before going into zone 4. So we got to make sure that we leave everything behind after we're done reviewing the physician's order. So once we're in zone 4, we go ahead and sanitize everything, wipe down everything that comes in contact with the patient. Anything that the patient touches, we got to go ahead and sanitize that area. Make sure there's clean linens. Make sure that our bed is all the way down for patient convenience, and also that we have our specific imaging coil that we're going to be using for the area of interest. So once we're done setting up our scan room zone 4, we go ahead and walk to zone 2, but just make sure that when you are walking out zone 4, you close that door behind you, because zone 4 always has that magnet on and we don't want any missile effects from any passerbyers. So we go to zone 2 to grab our patient. That's where we practice our patient identifier, our 4 patient identifiers, and also practice our aided. We grab our patient, ask a couple of questions while we're walking them to zone 3, just to have them kind of open up to us a little bit more. Once we're in zone 3, we got to make sure that the patient goes ahead and undresses themselves from their street clothes into their gowns, and that's where we're going to be going over the questions, any implants. This is where we practice also our flight attendant questions, which are our open-ended questions for the patient. We go a little bit more deeper to their history, of course. And once we're done with that, once the patient has changed from their street clothes to the gowns, we make sure we ask them and triple check, if possible, that they have demetalized themselves. Once we are done demetalizing, leaving everything behind, this is when we're going to walk our patient to zone 4. Okay, so once we are done demetalizing our patient, making sure that we asked all the proper questions, we went into detail with them, this is when we're going to walk our patient to zone 4. We're going to go ahead and position them. Now for the knee, we are going to be using a 8-channel. Sorry about that. We're going to be using an 8-channel knee coil. And for the slice angulation and coverage for the anatomy, if I chop up and do like the pronunciation wrong of the body parts, I'm so sorry. I'm still working on the pronunciation of these different anatomies. So just to let you know. So for our knee coil is going to be the 8-channel knee coil. Positioning for a knee image, the patient will be placed feet first supine, which the feet are going to be going into the scanner first, and supine, of course, is facing up. And the laser landmark is the inferior patella. The patella has a wide upper border, so that's going to be in the knee. And for an axial knee, we are going to plan we're going to be planning the slice angulation and coverage on the coronal image. So our slice angulation is going to be parallel to the medial and lateral condyle of the femur. And the slice coverage is going to cover from the tibial tuberosity up to the line of the superior patella, and be sure to include the tibiofibular joint. So that is going to be for our axial. Now for our coronal sequence, we're going to be planning our images on the axial plane. So the slice angulation will be parallel to the medial and lateral condyle of the femur. Our slice coverage will cover from the anterior patella to the line of the popliteal artery. And for our sagittal slice, we place the planning on the axial plane, and this is going to be the slice angulation parallel to the lateral condyle of the femur. Slice coverage, we're going to cover from medial to lateral condyle, and that is for our knee slice angulation and coverage. Now for the ankle, of course, the walkthrough is going to be the same as the knee. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be using the walkthrough for all three regions of interest. So for our ankle, we're going to be positioning the patient feet first supine, dorsiflex the ankle if possible, which means putting the feet like this. Our laser landmark is going to be the medially of the ankle. Plan our axial slices on the coronal plane. The slice angulation is going to be parallel to the mortise joint. The slice coverage will cover from just above the tibial joint down to the plantar aspect. And that's for our axial slice. For our coronal slice, we are going to be placing these on the axial plane. The slice angulation, we're going to angle perpendicular to the medial and lateral malleoli. And the slice coverage, we will be covering from the Achilles tendon to the midfoot. And for our sagittal slices, we're going to be placing them on the axial plane. For our slice angulation, we're going to angle parallel to the medial and lateral malleoli. Slice coverage, we're going to cover from the outer aspects of the lateral malleoli to the outer aspects of the medial malleoli. And that is going to be for our ankle. Now for our hip region, of course, the walkthrough the same. We're going to be using the coil. We will be using the abdominal and pelvis coil, which is the 8-channel phase array. We need to make sure we cover from the top of the pelvis to the groin. We are going to tape our patient's toes together. Sometimes Velcro is provided so we can put them together. So our positioning is going to be supine, usually feet first. It depends on what the text and the facility tells us how to position them. And the laser mark is going to be the hip joint. If we cannot find the hip joint, we can always have the patient lay supine and have them bend their knee, and that crease is going to be their hip joint. So for when we plan our slice coverage and angulation for our hip, we plan the coronal. For the coronal, we plan our coronal slices on the axial image. The slice angulation will be angling parallel to the left and right femoral head. And the slice coverage, we'll be covering from the ischiotubrositis up to the line of the pubic symphysis. To plan our axial slices, we're going to be planning these on the coronal plane. Slice angulation will angle parallel to the left and right of the femoral head. Our slice coverage will cover from the anterior superior iliac spine up to the lesser trochanter. And to do for our sagittal slices, we're going to be placing them on the coronal plane. Slice angulation, we're going to angle parallel to the femur. Our slice coverage will cover the hip joint from outer cortex of the greater trochanter up to the inner portion of the acetabulum. So that is going to be our slice angulation and coverage for the hip. I do want to apologize for me butchering those anatomies. Like I said, I am going to be working on the pronunciation and memorizing those a little bit better. But yes, that was our slice coverage and angulations for the knee, the ankle, and the hip.